Hey, it's Eli Johnson with POCculture.com. I am here with
Alejandro Edda.
And he plays Edda on the Snowfall on FX, of course. But we got to get into the outfit. Let's get a look at that suit. First of all,
It's an amazing Colombian designer, and my wife styled me tonight, so kudos to her.
Absolutely, absolutely. So first of all, congratulations on the series. Moving into season 6. A lot of series don't get quite so far. So what do you think it is about Snowfall that people resonate with so much?
Well, perhaps that it's a show well written, well performed, well shot, well produced, and that is a story that must be told. It has to be told. It speaks more now that you and me and here we're in LA. It's our local story. I don't know if you're from LA, but born and raised, and we need more LA stories, especially from a point of view that talks about a matter that it happens in this contemporary world. So I hope that more shows like Snowfall come to a understanding of what's the importance of what we're dealing with as a society. And Snowfall did it through the eyes of a kid who now is an adult, and behind John Singleton. So wow,
absolutely. So you have a really big role in the series. You play the character of Ruben, right?
Yes.
So what are kind of some things as his story unfolds that you kind of resonate with more? What are some things that you've kind of imparted on yourself and Tim, and that he's kind of imparted onto you as an actor as well? Like, what are some things that you're picking up just playing the role?
Well, Ruben is a character that I've never played before. He's from Cuba. I've never played a Cuban before. So that from starts, I had to switch my accent, my voice. We're in the 80s, it's a different mentality as well. And those were challenges that I definitely was nervous to take, but very, very glad they were retos. They were challenges in the paper. So I will receive these scripts, and I'll be like, all right, man, let's get to work. And then you're alongside these fantastic actors. You gotta be on your A game, and that also you grow with it, without knowing. Perhaps you might discover the character in the last scene, the last day, but definitely you grow.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, getting into season 6 without, giving away too many spoilers on things, there's kind of like a relationship that continues or kind of builds with our lead character, of course, Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you, without giving too many spoilers, of course, can you kind of dive into what fans can expect between the two of those guys?
No, I won't tell you one thing.
I'm here with the great Walter Mosley, the writer for Snowfall on FX. And first of all, congratulations, season 6. A lot of shows don't quite make it so far, so I kind of wanted to get your idea and your opinion on what makes Snowfall resonate with people this long, this much.
Well, there's a few reasons that the show went so long. One is the head of FX, John Landgraf, who said, I like the show. I think it's good. Other people should like it too, so I'm going to stick behind it until they do like it. Luckily, along the way, people began to, like it. I mean, we always had a diehard fans, but then it got much bigger because I think people who kind of lived through the 80s and the crack epidemic, et cetera, I think that they identify with it. But I think later on, young Americans said, hey, listen, you're talking about a life that we know, but nobody ever talks about. Not in this way, anyway, And I think that, we have great actors, the writing is serviceable, and the people who were behind us were behind us. Yeah.
Absolutely. So coming into the next season, before we jump right into the next season, we kind of got to go over some of your favorite moments from the previous one. What is a standout moment for you from season 5 that was one of your favorites?
Well, really, my God, I think it's not a moment, but the transition of Franklin Saint. Franklin Saint, he tries his best to get out, but something is grabbed onto him. And is that his fault or is it that world's fault? And it's a very hard thing to understand. But to see him, you see it happen and you understand it and you believe it, but you kind of wish it didn't happen. and I think that's great, and that just brings us right into the next season, into 6, and so.
Absolutely. So going into season 6, you started off in a really big way. Obviously, I'm not going to give out any spoilers.
Okay.
But what is kind of the dynamic going forward between Franklin and some of the family members? Because the season ended on a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So what is kind of the dynamic going forward between some of the family members and Franklin as far as the business goes? Because he made a pretty bold decision in the final scenes of season 5.
Yeah. Well, I think that what's happening is that you want the family to stick together,
right?
But it's impossible for them, to all occupy the same position,
Right.
and that's what we're going to see. We're going to try to see, there's one, it's like musical chairs. There's one chair left, who's going to get the chair, or is anybody going to get it,
Is anybody going to get the chair? That is the question. So, working with Damon Idris, he kind of took over as producer of the series, like as one of the producers of the series as things went on. John Singleton started off the series, wrote the characters, things like that. So, Damon, how has his input kind of changed or like improved the story, or like built on the character, or all of the characters rather? What's the relationship working with him like?
Damson is an extraordinary actor, just to begin with. He's beautiful, he's talented, he works really hard, he's committed, but also it's not all about him. He understands that, well, it's not a monologue, it's not just me out there, I got all these other people. And one of the reasons that he became a producer is because he knew how to help everybody else and how to help the show in general. And so there was never a moment where you say, oh my God, it's like, he's a great actor, but no, he's a great actor and he's a wonderful producer. And anybody who wants to work with Damson after this, they should do it, because whatever he does, he's going to make that project better.
Absolutely. So one final question is, keeping the season running this long, what are some of the ways that you found to be able to keep the story fresh? Or is it something that was like never a struggle for you guys as far as like storytelling? Or like what are some of the things that you guys kind of ran into as far as roadblocks and kind of telling the story?
To keep a story working, you have to have something to work with. Starting in, even in season 1, we had characters who you're gonna love and you were gonna worry about. And as they grew and developed as actors, it went without saying. I want to know what happened to him. What's going on with Leon? What's going on? With Sissy. You need to know. And because listen, if you had just kind of cardboard characters, after a couple of seasons, you go, well, I know what they're going to do. Now, if what they're going to do is what you like, maybe you keep watching. But I think that people follow because of the stories and because of the characterizations.
I play Black Diamond on Snowfall.
Absolutely. So before we get into it, you look like $1 million.
Thank you.
Is there any particular designer you're wearing? Or
Thank you. Well, something my stylist, Ty Coachman, pulled together. I don't even know where he got it from. He just did his magic. I said, make magic. And he made magic, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this season, we got a lot going on this season from what I've seen from the screeners.
Yeah.
So can you kind of talk about, without giving too much away, what's the relationship with your character Black Diamond going to be with Franklin kind of going forward? Because when we left off, things were a little bit on a cliffhanger with her. So what can fans kind of expect as far as?
Well, I think fans are just going to expect more drama. When we ended season 5, we know that Black Diamond and Dallas, they're down for whatever, right? Whoever's the highest bidder. And I think we just go deeper into that game. And I think as the fans will see how that unfolds with Jerome and Louis. So it's going to get pretty intense. I'd like to say no one is safe this season. So the fans are going to be on the edge of their seat starting with episode 1 for sure.
Absolutely. So before we get even more into some of the new stuff, let's look back on some of the older stuff. So what were your favorite moments, or what's your one favorite standout moment from the previous season?
Oh, man. I think my favorite part from season 5, the finale of season 5, with the Phil Collins music, us walking down that hospital corridor.
That was a vibe.
That was the moment. I did have to hit rewind a few times, just because it felt so badass, and it just kind of epitomized the energy of the show and where we were about to head into for the next season.
Absolutely. So you came on, I believe, in season 4, season 5, and so Damon just took over like as producer for a lot of the series as well. So what has the relationship on set with him been like, working with Damon?
Oh, it's been awesome. He's such a consummate professional. You know, I love just hearing him turn on his accent. You know, once he just makes you want to level up. You know, and he wants things to be right, and as we all do. So it's really such an honor because Black Diamond in Dallas, we're always there. If he's there, we're there. Got his back. So it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And so your role as the bounty hunter, so to speak, you kind of have like a lot of physicality, a lot of like gunplay and things like that. So is there any kind of training that you go through to kind of get and prepare for that kind of role?
Absolutely. Well, in my personal life, you know, I'm in a family full of Marines, and so I've always practiced with some gunplay there. But we always have a professional on set who shows us how to carefully position the rifles or whatever the guns that we're shooting, how to hold them, how to pull them out, how we would hide them. So because we want it to be, you know, we want to represent, you know, especially if we're hit women. So that's always fun because it's like you get more on the job training, which is really nice.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we got a little bit of I kind of like to ask a little bit of a lightning round question without giving away too many spoilers.
Okay.
What episode from the season, without giving us any details on what it is, would be your favorite?
I'll never forget it.
One.
Okay.
And we'll see why.
Okay, so the fans are going to get treated to a little something right out the gate.
Absolutely.
Right out the gate.
I mean, that's how we do it on Snowfall.
Absolutely. 6 seasons is no
Yes.
joke.
Absolutely.
What do you think it actually is that resonates with people so much for this season? Because a lot of shows don't make it quite so far.
You're
What do you
right.
think is, what's the magic?
I think it's the beauty and the magic of John Singleton and what he created, and he just always had a way to tap into the heart and soul of people. So even if it's about drugs or if it's about just some people living in a neighborhood, you know, living their lives, it's something that people just connect to. People see themselves. There's a representation there that is undeniable. So I think this is a cult classic, a show that people will watch 15, 20 years from now and still be deeply interested in it.
It's Eli Johnson with POCculture.com, and I'm here with
Isaiah John.
Yes, sir. And you play, of course, the best friend of Franklin, Leon Simmons. So we got to get right into it. What were some of your first or favorite moments from the previous season, rather?
For season 6, just the fact that we were able to execute the emotion of what these characters have been through. That makes me so proud. It's so proud because it's a lot. It's a very heavy situation, very heavy story. And I feel like we put the bow on the package and we're about to give it to the world. You know?
Absolutely. So, you know, Leon's character has been with Franklin since the beginning, right? So there's so much history and their relationship is so dynamic. So what can fans kind of expect between the two of them going forward into like the next, you know?
They're figuring themselves out. Leon has been through so many changes. Franklin's going through so many changes. And they're still trying to figure out how they fit into each other's world. But there's a lot of conflict with it because Leon's growing in one direction and Franklin's going in a whole other direction. So we're going to see how that plays out in this season.
Absolutely. And speaking of that conflict, I feel like things that are a little bit more complex, like shows like Snowfall, really resonate because a lot of shows don't make it to their 6th season, right? So what do you think is something that resonates so much with the audiences that continues to keep Snowfall so far?
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's one, the story and the writing of the show because it's a masterpiece, and also the group of actors that we have portraying these characters. We're all so dialed into our character, and we really bring the words that are on the page to life, and it's believable. That's the key. That's the key. Anybody can say the words on the page, but when you make them believable and you bring them to life, people who watch that, we make people feel what we feel in those moments. So we're all very proud of that, for sure.
Absolutely. And you know, Leon as a character, he's developed and transformed so much as well. So like, what do you feel personally about his journey just like as a character? Is it something that you kind of like relate to more? Or do you feel like, you know, it's kind of like changed so much, it's kind of like you're like, you know, what is kind of like your mind state, I guess, in portraying?
I think my word for tonight is being proud and pride because he could have easily been a product of his environment and just went down the wrong path, and that led to his early death. But he chose to change his mindset, change his view on life. Unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, you know, with him killing a little girl on accident, that's what woke him up. But at least he was able to wake up without it being him, you know, and he was able to make his wrongs right. So I'm very proud of that.
Hey, it's Eli Johnson with POCculture.com, and I'm here with Tico Herrera, the masterful cinematographer for Snowfall, the final season as well. So we got to get into it. What were some of the different things that you kind of wanted to achieve with the look this time around for the series?
Well, we knew this is going to be our final season, and there's a lot of things on season 5 that we already planted the seed to it. We knew we will go, storyline, we will go a lot darker, a lot heavier. So we trying to make that also in the look of the show. We went much, much heavier and darker in most of our storylines. As well, there's some characters that they will find their way, and we also wanted to end this season with a look or with a feeling of each of the characters. So we found a color palette, we found a different color theme for each of our main characters. So that was kind of like a very beautiful ending of the season, and I do believe it is a very strong season to visually talking, and also the acting is it's amazing.
Absolutely. You work with a stellar cast. And speaking of kind of using colors and themes to the series, a lot of the background elements of Snowfall also kind of add to the character of the series, right?
Yes.
So what were some of the approaches that you took to shooting some of the environments this time around that might have differed from previous seasons?
Well, definitely this is the season that we shot most locations. We were trying to make this as real as possible, and the locations allow us to see the depth, and we wanted to include not just our character, include where the show was from. And you said like this, the background had it was a character. Definitely, we play it in a way of when we were photographing, we want to give the audience the feeling of the cast and the acting, but yet showing the audience also where all this happened. And most of that stuff happened in South Central, and we were trying to express and show it to the audience, and it kind of works definitely very well. We also picked some amazing locations that we're going to go through the season, and very epic locations here in Los Angeles, which it was kind of like a very meaningful also, because we picked some of the John Singleton locations, and some heart and some touch, which this whole season is it was all about him as well.
Absolutely. So with all of that said, what were some of the harder parts to do, and what were some of your favorite shots to kind of like do? Were they more focused on character centric or more like background centric, or like what were some of the favorites and like some of the harder parts?
Which one is the first? The hardest one,
yes.
Right? The hardest, the hard part of.
Without giving any spoilers, of course.
Yes, that's what I'm trying. We're going to see 1 and 2 today, so I'm not going to speak of 1 and 2. The hardest part is probably, we treat episode 1 and 2 as a 1. Okay, so it really, the finale, the end scene of number 1 is not really the end. It's like the end, the final scene of episode 2 is our final scene.
Right.
So the hardest part was trying to put all this together, even though we have different scripts, but trying to treat it as a movie. It looks like a movie. That was kind of like the biggest challenge. Is like we should end this very strong, and I think like on a television schedule, trying to make this and being treated as a movie, that was the hardest and the most challenged piece, I guess. And what was the order?
For what was your personal favorite like shot
My
to kind of
personal
achieve, or like, of course, no spoilers.
Through
But if you
this
can give us
season?
anything, yes, absolutely.
Oh my! Well, my favorite, it will be definitely episode 9.
Episode 9. Okay, so you heard that. Episode 9. We're gonna have to keep an eye out for what that is.
Episode 9 is definitely a whole change of this whole season.
Absolutely. Well, I was able to check out the screener from FX. They showed it, and totally stunning job you guys did with the cinematography for the season.
Thank you so much.
As always,
Thank
you guys
you.
are raising the bar. So thank you so much for your time. This is POCculture.com. We will see you guys soon.